Alright, so let's look how order of operation works. So for this problem, we're going to use Pemdas to simplify this problem here. Now, as we all know, P stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Now, most of the time when students make a mistake is right here. When it comes to multiplication and division, just because multiplication M shows up before the division, that does not mean we do multiplication. In the order of operating that problem, we do the one that comes first as you go from left to right. So in this case, your division comes before your multiplication, so we're going to divide first. That's between the multiplication and division. Now, how do I start this problem? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is see if I have parentheses. As you can see, there is no parentheses here. So that means we're going to forget the P part. Exponents. Do I have any exponents here? Well, the first one is 8 squared, which simplifies into 64 minus, do your exponents first. 2 squared is 4. And then you have times the number 4 minus 3. Do I have any exponents right here? I don't. Now you go to your multiplication and division. Now, do I have multiplication and division? And I tend to have multiplication and division here. And because division comes first in the problem, I have to do division first. So that means keep the 64 the same. Minus 16 divided by 4 is 4, and then times the number 4 minus 3. Now, do I have division? Well, do I have division? I don't have division here, but I do have multiplication, and of course multiplication comes before subtraction, so we're going to multiply first. 4 times 4 is 16 minus the number 3. Your next step would be to subtract, go from left to right. 64 minus 16 is the number 48 minus 3, which equals 45. So the solution to this would be 45 using the order of operation. Now let's look at another problem. So let's call it example number 2. 10 squared minus 100 divided by 5 to the second power times 2 minus 3. How do we solve this problem? Well, there is no parentheses here, so you go to the second letter, which is exponents. 10 squared is 100. Minus that 100 divided by, I have another exponent here, which gives you 25 times 2 minus 3. So I'm done with my exponent part. Now the next thing that I have, the order of the operations that I have here is subtraction, division, multiplication, and subtraction again. So of course multiplication and division comes first before you can add and subtract. And because division comes first here before multiplication, I have to divide 100 divided by 25. So keep this 100 the same, minus 100 divided by 25 is 4 multiplied by 2 minus 3. And then of course the next thing we're going to do is multiply the 4 and the 2. So you have 100 minus 8 minus 3. Next part would be to subtract those two, which gives you a 92 minus 3. And of course that turns out to be 89. Let's look at example 3. And for this one, let's look at the following. 5 times 2 minus 3 squared divided by bracket 3 to the second power minus negative 2, and then bracket close square. So for this problem, I'll look at the top first. At the top I have multiplication, subtraction, exponent, and of course exponent comes first. So 5 times 2 minus 3 squared turns into a 9. And then at the bottom I have a bracket. I look inside the bracket. 3 squared is 9, and then a minus negative 2 in bracket square, which equals the top. I have 5 times 2 is what you do first, and 5 times 2 is 10, minus 9 is 1. For the bottom, you can use a calculator for this. 9 minus negative 2 is 11. And usually when you have a minus sign and the negative sign facing each other, to subtract means you add the opposite. Whenever you have subtraction and a negative number, that changes into a positive. So we have 11, and of course to the second power, which we know this is equal to 1 over 121. Now let's look some more examples here. So let's look at example number 4. Let's make it a little bit harder. So that is, this is example 4. So that is 8 minus 3 bracket close it, and then in bracket. So now I have brackets, and then inside that we have parentheses. So that means we're going to do those first. This one right here, and that part first, parentheses. So that means 8 minus 3 brackets negative 2 parentheses 2 minus 5, that's a negative 3, minus 4 parentheses 8 minus 6 is 2. Now the next part is we look at what we have inside the bracket, and as we can see, inside the bracket we have negative 2 times negative 3, which gives you a positive 6, minus 4 times 2 is 8. And brackets are just like parentheses. So we're gonna do, the next step would be to subtract those two. So that is 8 minus 3, difference of 6 and 8 is a negative 2. Now, this gives you 8 minus 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, which again, this turns into a positive. Whenever you have a minus and a negative sign facing each other, subtract means you add the opposite of that number. So this gives you a 14, or you can always use a calculator to do the 8 minus negative 6. Example 5, we have, for that one we'll do 12 divided by 3 times 6, 3 times 5, sorry. 2 square plus 3 square divided by 7 plus 3 times 6 square. And what do we get out of this? Alright, so first thing is first, let's look at the top first. So the top, I have a bracket, so we do everything inside the bracket first before I can do the outside part. So I'll leave the 12 divided by 3 times 5 and bracket. 2 squared is 4, 3 squared, to square something means you multiply it by itself, so 3 times 3 is 9. Bottom, before I can add or multiply, I have to do exponent first. So 7 plus 3 times 6 squared is 36, which equals, again I do the bracket first, so 12 divided by 3 times 5 and bracket. 4 plus 9 is 13, and divided by, multiply first, so 7 plus 108, I believe, which equals, now the top I have division, multiplication. Again, this is multiplication, so we're gonna do division first. 4 divided by 3 is, 12 divided by 3 is 4 times 5 bracket 13 divided by 7 plus 108 is 115. We're going to continue right here. 4 times 5, I multiply those two numbers first, and in this case it wouldn't matter which one you do first, but according to the order of operation we multiply, because they're all multiplication here, it wouldn't matter. So 4 times 5 is 20, and then bracket 13 over 115. What's 20 times 13? Well, 10 times 13 is 130, so 20 times that should be twice that, so that should be 260 divided by 115. Alright,